toxic gossip train. Toxic gossip train. It's catchy, can't deny it. Hey there, poetry pals, welcome back to another video. This week I am going to be analysing the bizarre apology, sorry is never mentioned, the bizarre apology of Colleen Ballinger. So for those of you who don't know, Colleen Ballinger is a content creator who has been around on YouTube for a really, really long time. And if you are not chronically online like me, you will not know that like she has this character called Miranda Sings, big red lipstick, really weird sense of humour. A lot of the sense of humour sort of like appeals to children, and she's recently been called out on a number of her actions, which include acting really inappropriately with children at her live shows, being in group chats with kids, asking them loads of like really weird stuff that maybe a 30-year-old woman shouldn't be asking 14-year-olds. I'm not going to go into all of that. You can go and watch an actual drama channel for that. I'm here for the poetry. And you might be thinking, Jose, what the hell? What the hell does this have to do with poetry? Well, recently, Colleen stayed really quiet on these issues for a little while, and then she released what is going down as the weirdest apology video of all time. She released a song. She released a video titled Hi, no capital letter, just a full stop, and then played the ukulele with this song. In response, I should say it's a response, it's not an apology, she doesn't apologise. I just found the whole thing really bizarre. Not only is it a really bizarre choice, but then I was like, wait, it means she took the time to write this, rehearse it, and perform it, because you best believe it's a performance, and then recorded it. And it is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And then I realised, I was like, wait, there's a rhyme scheme here, and I want to analyse it. Here's how this video is going to go. I'm going to go through line by line, and we're going to look at all of the poetic techniques and the potential effects of them that Colleen uses in her song, performance, ballad. And we're going to talk about the potential effects, and then at the end we're going to do just a little quick about the performance aspect, and then maybe meditate on what the effect of all of this is in terms of her online. But before we go any further, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications. It really helps small creators like me get found, and I make videos about all things poetry and book nerdery and writing and whatever this is. So subscribe. You can support the channel with your money by joining me on Patreon, buying me a coffee, or buying my book. My debut poetry collection, Faulty Manufacturing, is out now, and all of the links to do all of those good things are in the description down below. Follow me on social media at Josie Alford Poet. Let's go! So, Josie, how can you really claim that this is poetry? And I'll be honest, it is song lyrics, and I've analysed song lyrics on my thing before, so shut up. I would also argue that this is a ballad. There are sort of two breakdowns of the types of ballads. You have folk ballads, which is how people like told stories. Like travelling bards would go like and sing songs, and that's how people like learn about history and stuff like that. That's sort of like where the tradition of the ballad is from. I think it's really important when you think about the oral tradition as well, is the use of rhyme. Rhyme is used to like help you get it in your memory, which is why ballads often use rhyme. My point is that what Colleen has written is definitely in keeping with that sort of like folk ballad music, storytelling, rhymey, whimsical thing, which is interesting to think of whimsy when we're talking about the subject of grooming children. So, as with most of my other things, I'm now going to turn to the Poet's Manual and Rhyming Dictionary. The distinguishing feature of the ballad is a refrain that appears 4 times as the last line of each stanza and of the envoy. This refrain must add to the meaning of the poem each time it is used, rather than being simply a combination of musical syllables, as in a song. The envoy should take the form of an address to the poet's patron or to someone concerned in the subject of the ballad. Now, this one takes on a more of a, not just a one-line refrain, but actually a whole chorus, and the meaning and the words of which are tweaked each time to sort of shed more light on what Colleen is trying to say. So we'll bear that in mind as we go through. So here's what's going to happen next. We've explored what ballad is, and I think that is sort of relevant to root this investigation into her writing as a poem. Now, next up, we're going to go through and we're going to sort of highlight all of the examples of rhyme and other poetic techniques, including alliteration, metaphor, that sort of thing. So let's go, shall we?
So for this bit, I just went through and highlighted all the examples of rhyme and repetition throughout. You can see that there is a purpose here.
Oh God, I'm only halfway through just doing the rhymes.
It took me a really long time to do all of this. Like, genuinely, this whole process took me 30 minutes or so. Whew, lot of work. So, my microphone went funny when I was originally recording the video, so for certain sections of this, I'll be coming in and doing a voiceover. That's why it doesn't look like I'm saying what I'm saying, because I'm not. So the next bit we're going to do is go through this line by line, and this video is going to be relevant for you if you study English or anywhere that you have to do a close reading of a text. This is basically what we're doing here. We're doing a close reading of the lyrics to Hi, brackets, Toxic Gossip Train, close brackets. So yeah, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say a huge thank you to the person who transcribed the lyrics of this song and put it up on genius.com so that I could make this video. I couldn't do it without you. What's really cool about this website is they have users are able to highlight lyrics and add their own comments to it. This was useful in learning a few of the contexts for different controversies, but my favourite bit here is, which is interestingly, Toxic Gossip Train is an anagram for Cytog Topis Narix, which makes no sense, just like this entire song. Excellent, top tier memory, love it.
So what's really cool here is that the person who uploaded this has put together the lyrics and said which bits are spoken and which bits are verses. Now, having watched the video, the spoken bits are still pre-written. It's not ad-libbed. As you can see from this first moment here, this first stanza, let's call it, the person who wrote this said it is spoken, and it's right. Colleen doesn't sing this bit doesn't have a tune, but it does have a regular rhyme scheme. We've got A, 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 B, 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 6 lines, and then we've got the you guys having fun, which is a repeated, this would be the refrain of the piece. It's this final line that is repeated in the chorus of having fun. At least you're having fun. You guys having fun. Another technique that is used throughout is this rhetorical questions. The whole way through, we've got Colleen speaking as Colleen. Then we've got second person where she's speaking to us. But then there are other times where it's clear that she's speaking as another speaker. And I'll highlight those as we go, but I just wanted to highlight that there are times where like the speaker of this changes, which is interesting, and I don't think it's handled that well. One thing to bear in mind as well, also the variation in line length. And this is something that you can get away with this sort of like spoken, singy, folk ballady thing. Now, if it was a traditional ballad in the poet sense, it would all be written to a regular rhythm and all of the lines would be the same length. That is not the case here. Sometimes she tries, sometimes it doesn't work out, but that's just something to bear in mind. And what is interesting is where the lines do go really long, where you're expecting there are moments where she subverts the expectation of the rhyme, does a really long line to make a big point. It's been a while since you saw my face. I haven't been doing so great, so I took a little break. A lot of people are saying some things about me that aren't quite true. Doesn't matter if it's true though, just as long as it's entertaining to you, right? Now, what I would love is if it was just as long as it's entertaining to you though, right? So you have that like multi-syllabic rhyme, which is something that she does throughout. Okay, let's go on to the chorus. So the chorus is repeated throughout, and largely similar. The rhymes change, but we've got this repeating line of the toxic gossip train. And one thing I realized is that toxic and gossip rhyme. Now, when I say they rhyme, it's not a full rhyme. If you want to go into my all about rhyme video, I will make that pop up now. But it's a half rhyme. Like basically it's assonance, right? You've got the repeated vowel sounds, toxic, gossip, toxic, gossip. And you know how I said earlier about ballads and the oral tradition rhyming so that they're easier to remember? That's one of the reasons why this phrase is stuck in everyone's heads if you are singing it like I am. You know, boop beep boop beep bay, boop beep boop beep bay. That's one of the reasons why not only is the tune of that line pleasing, but the multi-rhyme of toxic and gossip will be another reason why it's in there. And then we've got this chugging down the tracks of misinformation. You've got a one-way ticket to manipulation station. Now, we've got this, obviously, let's take a moment to talk about this train metaphor. I should have highlighted every time a train metaphor comes up. But we'll just talk about it in the context of the chorus, and then if I spot any in any verses as we go, then we know. But we've got like chugging, tracks, one-way ticket, obviously the word train, tie me to the tracks, mind the gaps, crash. So that's those are sort of like have you heard the phrase lexical field? Which is a really good sort of way to extend a metaphor if you're writing. We have the extended metaphor of train. The motif, that's another one. We've got this motif of the train throughout all the choruses, and we've got these different images here. It also like the sort of like tie me to the tracks, I won't survive the crash. It sort of like reminds me a lot of those sort of like Western movies of like old Western movies where like the damsel in distress is tied to train tracks. That's sort of where the image gets me. Just one more thing about the rhyme here before we move on. I really hate misinformation and then manipulation station. I just feel like you've got the multi-rhyme of Asian and Asian and Asian, right? But it doesn't flow. It feels like you just came up with the rhyme and you're like, oh my God, look, I came up with another rhyme. Let me put it right after. And I don't think it works. I think it affects the flow of the piece. And then we've got this other bit at the end, which is, again, packing a lot of rhymes together. Again, these aren't full rhymes. These are just assonance of ax, 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 ax. Tie me to the tracks, harass me for my past. Those rumours look like facts. If you don't mind the gaps, I won't survive in the crash. But hey, at least you're having fun. And that what's cool here is the having mirrors that of that first bit. One thing before we get going any further, I just want to highlight is the repeating words. We have a lot of repeating words throughout. One of the things is facts, rumours, mistakes, an interesting little. Just saying. Bear that in mind as we carry on. We've got a hey at the beginning. It's been a while since I've seen my face. I haven't been doing so great. Blah, 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 blah. We got the chorus. And then it goes, hi, everyone. So we've got another hey, which is interesting. It's almost like we've got several intros here. You know, like how the Lord of the Rings movies have several outros? We've got several intros here. This whole spoken section is interesting. It doesn't so much have like a regular rhyme scheme, but there's still like poetic elements to the spoken bit. Let me just read it out loud to you, and so you can hear it. I've been wanting to come online and talk to you about a few things, even though my team has strongly advised me not to say what I want to say. But I recently realised that they never said that I couldn't sing what I want to say. So here I am, and today I only want to talk about the facts. We've got this online, advised, realised of those three lines, right? We've got the online, I strongly wanted to come online, even though my team strongly advised. I recently realised they all rhyme. And then we've got this say today. All things to think about, that even though it's spoken, it's still using this rhetorical, figurative techniques.
So this bit here is quite interesting. You know, when I was talking about the change in speaker, this is an example. It was kind of like when you go to a family gathering, you know, and there's this weird aunt who keeps coming up to you and going like, hey girl, what's the tea? And you're like, that was me, but in group chats with my fans, it was weird. It's just so bad. Okay, so we move on to verse 1, and this is where the rhyme scheme comes in a little bit more regular. I've been sharing my life online for over 15 years. I poured my heart out to you, and because of that I feel like I'm talking to my friends, but in the beginning of my career. I just want to pause here and state that clearly I thought that feel might be a sort of like near rhyme to years and career. So I didn't give it a full highlight. I just changed the colour of the text to sort of map it there. So then we move on. I didn't really understand that there should be some boundaries there. There were times in the DMs when I would overshare. There were times in the DMs when I would overshare is a really nice, pleasing rhythm. We've got some enjambment there as well. So yeah, love that bit. But the line with that there should be some boundaries there, way too long. Again, like I said earlier.
I haven't done that for years, you see, because I changed my behaviour and I took accountability. So this is an example here of some multi-rhymes, which is something that happens. So she can get into multi-rhymes, but she doesn't do it consistently throughout. So we've got weird of me, years you see, ability. This is an example of a multi-rhyme where the syllables, it's where the vowels of each syllable matches, but also that the intonation of the syllables, the stressed syllables, matches as well. And we have this rhymey. And somehow we need to change from this multi-rhyme to the chorus, because we get back to the chorus. But that's not very interesting, is it? Another rhetorical question. Interestingly, this is where we get the closest to her admitting what she was doing was weird, but then sort of dismisses it and comes back to the like artifice of this song and goes back into the chorus. Toxic gossip train. So we've got a new set of rhymes for this second chorus here. So we've got accusation, reputation, and we've got more to add to the train image. Okay, so I'm just gonna we're gonna add to this train lexical field. We have locomotive, fueled, steamroll, hop on board, train again. But yeah, We've also got, like, instead of having, oh no, we do have some rhymes here. Your eyes of lies, realize. Okay, so we're gonna just highlight made of lies. Close your eyes, made of lies. Boop, boop. And again, we've got the same rhyming pattern here of, your eyes realize of lies you despise deserve to die. So if we go back up to, the tracks harass past you'll see that the rhyme. Well, we've only got 5. Yeah, we've only got 5 rhymes. Oh no, otherwise. Pleasing. I shouldn't praise this. I should not praise this. But in the first chorus, we have 3 lines after the third gossip train. Then we've got 2 lines in the one afterwards, and then didn't deserve to die. One note here, there's lots of death imagery. We've got this like train imagery. We've got this death imagery. Interesting. So we go back into a spoken bit, which is, you know, it's looser. It is less sing-songy. We don't have a regular rhyme scheme. This is also the bit where she chooses to stick to just one chord. So it's sort of like the spoken word bit. The one thing to bear in mind here is that they have mistakes. And again, this is where we see her trying to get into something a little bit more maybe genuine, trying to talk about the issue at hand. But then she comes in with this rhetorical question and say, what? Oh, you don't care? Oh, okay. And it's saying, it's almost blaming the audience, blaming the reader. No, she's performing. Blaming the audience for her not going into depth about the real issues. She's blaming the audience as if to say, the internet doesn't have any nuance. It's your fault, not mine. Even though this is her video. She could be addressing all of this stuff, but she isn't. I thought you wanted me to take accountability, but that's not the point of your mob mentality, is it? No. And then again, we have this quick rhyme, stuffing it in. Your goal is to ruin the life of the person you despise while you dramatize your lies and monetize their demise. It's interesting how these rhymes aren't evenly spaced, and the way that she performs this makes it seem like they're more evenly spaced than they are. But in terms of the actual syllables, yeah, it's interesting. And then we have this other rhetoric bit, which has some rhymes like, yeah, I feel like I can already hear the comments on this video. She's gaslighting, she's manipulating, she's a narcissist and a rat. I would never make a mistake like that. So we got this rhyme again, and you feel like every time she goes into a spoken thing, you feel like she's going to be genuine, and then you realise, oh, sorry, I kicked my camera. And then you realise that she's rhyming again, and it's not to be taken seriously. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realise that all of you are perfect. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realise that all of you are perfect, so please criticise me. So we got the rhyme of realise, criticise. And one of the things, like realise and criticise, it has that echoing of the syllable and intonation, not just of the vowel sound as well. So then we've got this really weird bit. This is the bit where this is the bit I dislike the most. Bring out the daggers made from your perfect past and stab me repeatedly in my bony little back. I don't understand why bony little back is the phrase that she uses here. It feels like it should be a reference to something. Because of the structure of how she's written everything else, this feels like it should be a moment to reference something, especially in the fact that it's echoed bony little back, shitty little song. Is it just me, or does it feel like a humble brag of being like, oh, I'm so skinny, my bony little back? And the way that she performs it, she actually genuinely turns to the side to be like, oh, look how bony my... Look, that might be me, you know, projecting my issues there. I just wanted to highlight it. Let me know in the comments if you agree. I'm sure you're disappointed with my shitty little song. Nothing like a bit of self-awareness, Colleen. Nice. I know you wanted me to say that I was 100% in the wrong. I'm sure you're disappointed in my shitty little song. I know that you wanted me to say that I was 100% in the wrong. Because here's the thing, right? This is something that irritates me. I'm sure you're disappointed in my shitty little song. I know that you wanted me to say that I was 100% in the wrong. You realise what's wrong here, right? There's too many syllables. I'm sure you're disappointed in my shitty little song. I know you wanted me to say that I was in the wrong. Boom. Just take out the syllables, Colleen, and it would flow so much better. Anyway, I hate this bit. This bit was the worst bit. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to take that route of admitting to lies and rumours that you made up for Clute. Okay, so clearly Colleen has an American accent and she pronounced root as route, which therefore would rhyme with clout. But I couldn't resist saying root and clute. And here again, we have the repetition of lies and rumours. It's interesting here, right back near the beginning. The second spoken bit. Here I am, and today I only want to talk about the facts. Where are the facts? Because all I'm hearing is opinions. This is the bit where she takes on this new speaker moment. The person who transcribed this, again, I don't know who, but I love you, put this in quotes. And I think it's important to know that this bit is in quotes. Obviously, when Colleen is performing this, she can't do the quotes because she's too busy playing her silly little ukulele.
So while she's performing, she leans forward and does her eyes like this, which shows that she's sort of putting on a voice. And she says, "Hey everybody, I found someone new to harass. She did some things that I do not like in her past. So everybody gather round because we're about to attack." It's another example of a rhetorical device, of a persuasive device. Does it work? No! What's interesting about this next section is the gun imagery. We've got loaded lethal weapon, we've got armor, we've got shoot me down, quick, click, bam, and then we've got the deceased bit afterwards. What's interesting here is the quick, click, bam. Quick and click rhyme, and bam is onomatopoeia as well. We've got mixed metaphors here. We've got the train, she's getting murdered by being run over by a train, but we also have this gun imagery. She will be shot, metaphorically. I also wanted to take a minute to talk about that girl Miranda sings. You know the one, yeah, her. She's PG-13. It says that on my website. It's always been that way. That's why you won't find my videos on the YouTube Kids app. I just want to say that this bit is really, really messy.
I can see why the transcribers got a little, because it says spoken, but then we're later into verse 5. It just feels a bit weird here. In my opinion, verse 5 starts here with the anyway. And this is all one sentence. That Miranda sings is PG-13. It's always been that way, and that's why you won't find my videos on the YouTube Kids app. This is always really funny because it just doesn't rhyme. It just feels shoehorned in. Speaking of shoehorning, all the way through when you watch this video, it all feels shoehorned. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't flow naturally. It's not written that well. Anyway, and this is where we get back into a regular rhyme scheme again, and we're back onto the heavy rhetorical use of stuff. Anyway, I didn't realise it was my responsibility to decide what was appropriate for every kid to see. Very good use of rhythm here. We've got to give credit where credit's due. I've always relied on parents to decide if they're comfortable with their families watching my YouTube videos or coming to my live shows. Now, I put the thing here, were these supposed to rhyme? Because it feels like it, right? Look at the shape of this verse. It feels like videos and shows, but also comfortable.
I've always relied on parents to decide if they're comfortable. We've got relied, decide. If they're comfortable with their TVs, watching my YouTube videos, or coming to my live shows. What I would have done is have videos and shows mirroring the rhyme of relied and decide. So I've always relied on parents to decide if they're comfortable with their kids on my videos or coming to my shows. End the line with something that rhymes with comfortable. So I've always relied on parents to decide if they're comfortable with kids on my YouTube videos or coming to my shows, something that rhymes with comfortable. Now, we've got a whole load of rhetorical questions rounding out the last of this verse. Now, have I made some jokes in poor taste? Yes. Have I made some dumb mistakes? Yes. Am I sad that some fans feel betrayed? Yes. But was my intention to manipulate? No. I've called this the old switcheroo. We have the list of 3 of yes, yes, yes. Then the rhetoric switch of no. This will be, if you've ever done a GCSE in persuasive writing, this is a technique that you use. So that's something to bear in mind. You know what is an interesting, closely meaning word to persuasive? Manipulative. Interesting, isn't it? I think we've got to take a pause here and think about intention, because I think it's interesting. We've got 2 contexts where we can interpret intention here. Number 1, in the context of apology. Was it your intention to hurt me? You know, it wasn't my intention to manipulate. But the fact is, these children were manipulated. We can think about it in the context of apology, but we can also think about it in the context of writing, right? Which takes us to this sort of death of the author. What matters? What the writer intended to mean, or what the audience interprets it to mean? This is something that you will, if you're into English lit and you studied it, I don't know how much they, discuss this in American schools, but there's this recurring meme of what does the author mean by the blue curtains? And the English teacher will be like, oh, what does blue mean, like depression or hope or whatever? And then it's the author's ghost being like, it meant the curtains were blue. I think the point is that, especially when you're reading poetry, which is so often has layers and layers of meaning, that the author's intention, this is my opinion, the author's intention does not matter as much as what the readers can take from it. Once your creative work is out there, people's interpretations of it matter at least as much as what your intention was. Now, here's interesting, we don't have a lot of rhymes here, not really sort of regular ones. We do have some echoes and assonance and stuff like that. But this is where she really leans into these long lines. I would argue that this bit almost reads like a prose. And again, we've got this moment of genuine, but then she distances herself from it, because she talks about these, everyone believes that you're the type of person who manipulates and abuses children, so I just wanted to say that the only thing I've ever groomed is my 2 Persian cats. And then we get into rhymes again. So we've got, I'm not a groomer, just a loser who didn't understand I shouldn't respond to fans. I'm not a predator, even though a lot of you think so, because 5 years ago I made a fart joke. So even though I know this video won't change everyone's mind about me, I still felt it was important to come in here and defend myself a little and take accountability. And also I want to say that to anyone out there who has supported me in any capacity. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you. For what it's worth, I never have any bad intentions. Again, that's the word intention, but I do feel like shit. This is like a twist where you expect to get another rhyme, but we've just got shit instead. No disrespect for that. I've done it as well. The old switcheroo of you think you're getting a rhyme and you just get a swear instead. This is the gap since the last chorus.
Whereas the gap between, we've only got 2 other choruses, and the gap between that and that is not as big. I just think there could have been an extra chorus in there to have this little, I feel like to extend the train analogy, I feel like the second half of this goes off the rails. Why was this 10 minutes long as well? Why was it 10 minutes long? We didn't need this. We did not need this.
So the final chorus mirrors the first chorus, but changes in 2 vital ways. Number 1 is the you. In the first chorus, we don't have the you, it's just tie me to the tracks, like an instruction, but this one is you tied me to the tracks, which brings me to the other key way where it changes, which is the tense. It says you tied me to the tracks and harassed me for my past, which is in a present tense, like instruction giving in the first bit. But yeah, those are the key differences.
So this is like past tense now, and Colleen points the finger at the viewer and says, you did this. Rumours looked like, but then we're back to present tense again. I won't survive the crash. We've got future tense again of I won't survive, but then we're back to past tense with I hope you had some fun. Now, this technique of changing the lyrics, the tense of the final chorus to really twist the meaning is a very common artifice to use in songwriting, ballad writing, stuff like that. It is something that Taylor Swift does, I swear to God, in every single one of her tracks. But let me just take a minute to say, this could have been better. We could have turned the whole thing into past tense and I think it would have held more. It would have been more interesting than this mess. You tied me to the tracks and harassed me for my facts. Rumours looked like facts when you didn't mind the gaps. I didn't survive the crash, but hey, I hope you had some fun. Boom! This is where she goes to turn the camera off, and quite frankly, this is where it should have... Okay, no, I had to stop myself there, because I was about to say this is where it should have ended, but it never should have started to begin with. Anyway, we have this final bit. So she goes to turn the camera off and then she stops and she says, actually, you know, I feel like maybe I should let you guys know something. Seems like maybe you got confused about something. I don't know, but let me try to help. So we've got a repetition of this happens throughout. But I just wanted to say that this mirrors each other. I feel like maybe, seems like maybe, feel like maybe, seems like maybe. Rhyme. Something, something. Just, and then you know and don't know. These mirror each other. I feel like the way this is written on the page doesn't do it justice. This is how I would line it up on the page. You can see how it mirrors each other. We've got, you know, I keep pointing at my screen like you can see me pointing. You know, and no, maybe, feel like maybe, seem like maybe, something and something. And So that's interesting here. This is another bit where you feel like the spoken bits are we're gonna have a moment of authenticity, but then you realise it's actually more rhyming. It's more artifice. It's more distancing from authenticity. And then we have this, what the transcriber has written as outro. Sometimes people make a mistake and it doesn't make them a horrible person. Whoa. Sometimes people can make a mistake and they're still a good person. Crazy, I know. Sometimes people can make a mistake and you don't have to take that mistake, oh no, and twist it up and grind it and add some lies to it and pulverize it and stab it with knives and ruin a life, oh no. Sometimes people can make a mistake, it doesn't mean you gotta send them hate, oh no. Some people can make a mistake and you can kindly let them know and help them to grow. Sometimes people make mistakes simply because they made a mistake, and that mistake doesn't make them a terrible human, it just makes them human. Now, all of this just feels like Captain Obvious, right? Like, it just feels like all of these bits that she is writing is like, yeah, it's It's Captain Obvious. You can't disagree with the sentiment of this. But what the problem with this is that it is coming from someone who is only admitting to the small things here and saying, yeah, I admit to that and I was wrong. Doesn't say sorry. Having said all of that, this doesn't fit with the rest of the thing. Actually just seeing it on the page, I quite like it. And like, okay, just out of context. I like it. I like the repetition of ache, a mistake, take that mistake, make a mistake, made a mistake. That mistake doesn't make that like twist at the end. It's always make a mistake, take a mistake, make a mistake. And then that mistake doesn't make at the end. Lovely. I like the repetition of the rhyme of whoa, I know, oh no, oh no. Oh no! And then ending with grow, nice. I also like the repetition of human at the end. The only problem is that it comes in this place where it's a woman in her mid to late 30s trying to avoid saying sorry for grooming kids. And then at the end, once again, we have this long pause and sort of like we get this more tongue-in-cheek, this distancing, because we have this sincere moment of right, which is, and that mistake doesn't make them a terrible human, it just makes them human. It's almost this moment of like where she's asking for forgiveness without actually asking for forgiveness, and then we end on these two rhetorical questions, but what do I know? Fuck me, right? So here are the notes that I took when I was watching the performance, first of all. Bearing in mind, this is before I looked up the lyrics, so I didn't actually I didn't have the time to sit with the lyrics as much, but this is what I got from the thing. My first note was L, and then the second one was facts. We're getting some facts, are we? We did not get facts. There's a lot of death language throughout. We've got the gun, we've got him being tied up on train tracks. It makes me think of, you know, people being hounded online can have devastating effects on your mental health. And that can lead to people dying. That's all I'm going to say. And I think that what she has done in her writing here by using all of this death image, she is invoking that. It makes me think of Caroline Flack. And to be honest, it puts a bad taste in my mouth that she is alluding to suicide in a way, there I said it. She is alluding to suicide in a song with a ukulele. I don't like it. The talking versus singing moments here are interesting. I think that when you see this written down, those moments are reflected by the rhyme scheme becoming more regular, but also the bits where she starts singing where the rhyme scheme is more regular, she also changes chord. The bit where she's just speaking over a ukulele is just one chord over and over and over. And then I just wrote the acting though, the performance. And this is written, okay? We know that there is rhyming. We know that this is planned. But all of this it's all artifice to look like she just sat down and is just coming up with it. The moment when she goes to turn the camera off and then is like, no. Actually, I feel like maybe I should tell you guys something. It's so artificial and performed and drama. Kat Black, who did a reaction to the apology, made an interesting point about the performance and the drama and the theatre kid. And there's this part of me, the inner theatre kid, who was just like, oh, but it's gross. It's gross. The performance is weird. It adds this added layer of feigned authenticity, which I think ultimately is the problem that we all have with YouTube, right? I wanted to go in and sort of really analyse this, because the fact is that there is thought here. She didn't just pick up a fucking ukulele and jam this out. She constructed this. She curated this. And I don't know why it's the stupidest thing. Also, it really gives like that late noughties, early 2010s hipster ukulele vibes. Do you know what it does give me? And I'm sorry, Kate Nash, but it is giving early Kate Nash. And in the worst way possible. And I think that it's weird. And the bony little back thing, that's annoyed me. That's my most annoyed. That's the worst lyric. My favourite lyric is, and that mistake doesn't make them a terrible human, it just makes them a human. I like the sentiment. It's just a shame that it's surrounded by all of this shit that makes me not want to believe in you. But what do I know? Fuck me, right? So that's it for this week's video. Let me know what you think, something a little different. Let me know what you want me to analyse next. I have analysed a Spice Girls lyric and some Wordsworth, so I really enjoy this sort of deep analysis stuff. Let me know if that's something that you want to see more of and what you want me to analyse next. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, comment your thoughts down below, subscribe, turn on notifications, share it with your pals. The engagement really helps small creators like me get found. You can support me with your money by joining me on Patreon or buying me a coffee, or you can buy my book, because who am I to criticise someone else's writing? Buy my book and tell me it's rubbish. I don't care, just buy it. Or you can join me on social media. I am at JC Alford Poet on all of the things. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next week. Bye.